One playground hug changed everything, turning a billionaire, little girl and a stranger into a family bound by love and unexpected kindness. Ethan Cole was a man who seemed to have everything the world could offer. His name was on skyscrapers, his face appeared in magazines, and his bank account was one that most people could only dream of. People often whispered that he had no time for small things, that he was all about deals, contracts, and big business. But despite all his success, there was a part of his life that he couldn't control. A part that no amount of money could fix: his relationship with his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Ever since his wife passed away 3 years ago, Ethan had tried to keep life moving. He buried himself in work, thinking that if he stayed busy, the pain would fade, and somehow life would feel normal again. But it never did. Every night, after the board meetings ended and the mansion was quiet, he would walk past Lily's room and see her sleeping. She would clutch a little stuffed bear his wife had given her, and he would feel a pang of guilt. Guilt that he wasn't there, guilt that he missed her first words, her first steps, her first laugh after waking up in the morning. And yet, despite all his wealth, he didn't know how to fix it. Lily was a bright, cheerful little girl. She loved colors, animals, and stories about faraway places. She would often ask her father questions about the world, like why the sky was blue or why birds could fly. But most of the time, Ethan was too busy on calls or checking reports to answer her. The nannies tried their best, telling her stories and helping her with homework, but nothing replaced a father's love. Lily knew he loved her in his own way, but she also felt the emptiness of not having him truly there. One Friday morning, Ethan's assistant, Claire, came into his office with a gentle yet determined look on her face. "Mr. Cole," she said, "Lily really misses you. I think it would be good for both of you to spend some time together this weekend. Maybe take her to the park." Ethan frowned, looking at the schedule he had in front of him. Meetings, conference calls, charity events, his calendar was packed. But when he saw the hopeful expression on Claire's face, and remembered the little face of his daughter peeking at him from the nursery window earlier that morning, something inside him shifted. "All right," he said finally. "We'll go, just the park." Simple. The weekend arrived, and Ethan found himself driving a sleek black SUV with Lily sitting in the back. Her small hands pressed against the window. She wore a pink hoodie with little flowers on it, and her eyes sparkled with excitement. Ethan glanced at her from the rearview mirror. "You ready for some fun?" he asked, trying to sound cheerful. Lily nodded eagerly, her pigtails bouncing. He smiled briefly, though it felt strange to him, like a muscle he hadn't used in years. When they arrived at the park, it was filled with laughter. Children running around, parents chatting, and the smell of fresh-cut grass. Lily jumped out of the car immediately, her small shoes tapping on the pavement as she ran toward the playground. Ethan followed more slowly, carrying a bag with snacks and water, not quite sure what to do with himself. The world of the park was so different from his usual life of skyscrapers and boardrooms. There were no contracts, no deadlines, no pressure, just children laughing and playing. Lily ran toward a colorful jungle gym, her small voice calling, "Daddy, come see me." Ethan put down the bag and walked toward her, but as soon as he took a few steps, his phone buzzed. It was a text from his business partner asking about an urgent matter. Ethan sighed and glanced at Lily, who was already climbing the jungle gym, oblivious to the world. He wanted to tell her to wait, but he felt torn. He didn't want to ruin her fun, yet he also felt responsible to respond immediately. In that moment, he realized just how far apart their worlds had become as he stared at her from a distance. He noticed how tiny she looked against the bright metal of the playground. The wind caught her hair, and she laughed as she swung on a bar, fearless and free. It hit him that he had missed so many of these moments before. Small, beautiful, ordinary moments that parents and children share. He felt a lump in his throat. Here was his daughter, full of life and curiosity, and he had spent the last years missing it all. He wanted to reach her, to be the father she deserved, but he didn't know how to bridge the gap that had grown between them. Lily tried to climb higher, little fingers gripping the cold metal. Ethan took a few steps closer, telling himself not to stare, not to micromanage, but to just be present. He wanted to protect her, yet he also wanted to let her explore. Watching her, he felt something stir inside him. Protective instinct mixed with awe. She was so small, yet so determined. So innocent, yet already learning the ways of the world. He remembered the last time he had held her after she fell as a toddler. He had been rushing to a meeting then too, and she had cried, and he had promised himself never to let that happen again. And yet here he was, feeling the same fear and helplessness creeping back. The park was alive with sounds, children squealing, dogs barking, the rustle of leaves in the breeze. Ethan walked slowly behind Lily, trying to memorize every detail, the way the sun shone on her hair, the little scuff marks on her shoes, the way she laughed when she swung on the monkey bars. He realized that he had been blind to these moments for years, trapped in a world of power and business. And now, watching his daughter, he felt a pang of longing. This was what mattered. Not money, not fame, not deals, but this. This laughter, this innocence, this connection. For the first time in a long while, Ethan decided to put the phone away. He slipped it into his pocket, ignored the buzzing notifications, focused entirely on Lily. She noticed and waved at him, her smile wide and bright. "Daddy, watch me," she called. Ethan felt his heart swell. He nodded, a genuine smile spreading across his face. He crouched a little to meet her at her level, and she climbed down to show him how she could balance on the edge of the jungle gym. Her eyes sparkled, and for a few precious moments, the years of distance seemed to vanish. Ethan realized that being present didn't require grand gestures or money. It didn't require fancy toys or expensive outings. It was about simply being there, sharing a moment, giving his full attention, and letting Lily know she was loved. And as he stood there, watching her run and laugh, he made a silent promise to himself. He would try. He would learn to be the father she needed to step out of his world of work and into hers, even if it meant making mistakes along the way. And little did he know, that very weekend, that one small visit to the park, one ordinary moment of letting his daughter play, was about to lead to something extraordinary, something that would change all their lives forever. This version focuses on Ethan's emotions, Lily's innocence, and the setup for the emotional turning point. It's written in simple English, flows naturally, and makes the story engaging from the start. Lily was having the time of her life. She ran across the playground with her small, eager legs, her laughter ringing out like tiny bells in the air. The jungle gym was a maze of bright metal bars and colorful slides, and she loved climbing as high as she could, testing her balance, and imagining herself as a brave explorer discovering new lands. Ethan watched from a few steps away, smiling quietly to himself. For the first time in a long while, he was fully present, not distracted by business calls or meetings. He wanted to soak in every detail, the way the sun danced across Lily's hair, the way her cheeks turned rosy from the excitement, the way her eyes sparkled with joy. But as life often does, a small, unexpected moment changed everything in an instant. Lily attempted a tricky climb, reaching for a higher bar while balancing on a narrow beam. She felt brave, fearless, and confident. For a moment, she forgot the ground beneath her feet. And then, suddenly, she slipped. Her small body tumbled forward, and she cried out as she fell toward the hard rubber mat below. Ethan's heart jumped into his throat. Time seemed to slow down as he rushed toward her, his mind screaming at him to catch her, to protect her, to make sure she was okay. But before he could reach her, another figure appeared, someone he had never seen before in the park. A young woman, quick and graceful, moved with an urgency that was almost instinctual. She reached Lily just as she landed, wrapping her arms around the little girl and gently lifting her off the ground. Ethan froze, a mix of shock and relief washing over him. He had expected to be the one holding her, comforting her, but this stranger had beaten him to it. He watched as she cradled Lily, her embrace soft and steady, her voice calm and soothing. "It's okay, sweetie," the woman whispered, rocking Lily gently. "You're safe now. You're okay." Lily's tears streamed down her face, and she buried her head into the stranger's shoulder. Ethan felt a strange mix of emotions: relief that she wasn't hurt badly, gratitude toward this woman, and, surprisingly, a touch of envy. This stranger had given Lily comfort in a way he hadn't. He realized that he had spent so much time away from her, so much time being busy, that he had forgotten what it felt like to hold her, to soothe her, to be the warmth in her world. The woman glanced up at Ethan, her eyes meeting his. She looked apologetic, as if worried she had crossed a line, but her expression was open, honest, and kind. Ethan nodded, trying to find words. "Thank you," he said, his voice softer than usual. "Thank you for helping her," she smiled faintly. "Of course, she's just a child. She needed someone to hold her. I know what it's like to see someone you care about hurt." Ethan studied her for a moment. She looked ordinary, maybe even like someone he might have overlooked in another setting. But there was something in her eyes, a quiet strength, a warmth, and a kindness that struck him deeply. He realized that she wasn't just helping Lily because she had to. She was helping because she wanted to. And that realization stirred something inside him. Something he hadn't felt in years, the longing to be present. The longing to be the father Lily deserved. Lily began to calm down, sniffing and wiping her tears with her little hands. She looked up at the woman, her small lips forming a hesitant smile. "Thank you," she said softly. "You made it better." The woman chuckled gently. "You're welcome, sweetheart. Just be careful next time, okay?" Ethan stepped closer, kneeling down to Lily's level. "I'm here now, Lily," he said, trying to sound reassuring. "I won't let anything happen to you." But even as he said the words, he felt a pang of guilt. Why hadn't he been here sooner? Why had he let the years slip by, letting nannies and strangers fill the role he should have played? The young woman stood up, brushing dust from her jeans. Ethan noticed her name Tagama. She worked at a small cafe nearby. Apparently, she was just passing through the park when Lily fell. Yet she had acted with courage and care, instinctively knowing what to do. There was no hesitation, no thought of reward, just a pure, genuine act of kindness. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest that he hadn't experienced in years. It was a feeling he hadn't realized he was missing, the connection between people, the compassion that made life worth living. Lily clung to him for a moment as he hugged her, but her eyes kept drifting back to Emma. "She helped me," Lily said, pointing. "She held me." Ethan smiled faintly, feeling both pride and humility. "Yes, she did," he said. "She was very kind." Emma waved her hand modestly. "It's nothing," she said. "I'm just glad she's okay." But Ethan knew it was more than nothing. He watched as Emma went back to the nearby cafe stand, returning to her day as if nothing extraordinary had happened. And yet, to Ethan, this moment was extraordinary. He realized that sometimes the people who make the biggest difference in your life are strangers who show up at the right time. They remind you of what really matters. As Ethan held Lily and walked her away from the jungle gym, he couldn't stop thinking about Emma, the way she had moved with such speed and grace, the gentleness in her touch and the warmth in her voice. He wondered about her life, her struggles, her dreams. Who was this woman who had stepped into their lives so suddenly? And more importantly, he felt a deep, almost uncomfortable thought growing inside him. He wanted to know her, not just as a stranger who helped his daughter, but as someone whose presence brought comfort and light into their little world. Lily clung to him tightly as they sat on a bench, rubbing her scraped knee. Ethan dabbed at it with a tissue from the bag he had brought, speaking to her in soft, gentle tones. "See? Nothing too bad happened. You're okay now?" Lily nodded, still trembling a little, but her tears had stopped. She looked up at him, her eyes shining with trust and love. And Ethan felt a surge of emotion that made his chest ache. For the first time, he understood something profound. Parenting wasn't about providing everything, about buying toys or giving lavish gifts. It wasn't about shielding her from every scrape or every disappointment. It was about presence, about love, about showing up when it mattered most, even if it was just in small ways. And watching Emma hug his daughter, comforting her when he hadn't been fast enough, Ethan realized how much he had missed. He made a promise to himself as he watched Lily laugh again. Now, with a bandage on her knee and a small snack in her hand, he would try harder. He would learn to be the father she deserved. And perhaps, if fate allowed, he would also learn from Emma the quiet strength and kindness she had shown. the simple yet profound way she had touched his daughter's heart. Little did he know, this one moment, the fall, the hug, the gentle comfort of a stranger would be the spark that set off a chain of events neither of them could have imagined. It was more than a random act of kindness. It was the beginning of a connection that would change all their lives. For Ethan, for Lily, and even for Emma. The world suddenly seemed full of possibilities he hadn't dared to imagine before. And as they left the park that day, Ethan held Lily's hand a little tighter. He glanced back at Emma, who waved at them, and for the first time in years. He felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. This version focuses on emotional depth, tension, and the start of the key relationships. Written in simple, readable English and engaging storytelling style. After that day at the park, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Emma. There was something about the way she had rushed to help Lily, the gentleness in her touch, and the warmth in her voice that stayed with him. He realized that it wasn't just a moment of kindness, there was something deeper about her presence. She had comforted his daughter in a way he hadn't been able to, and that truth hit him harder than he expected. For days afterward, he found himself replaying the moment in his mind, the way Emma had held Lily. The soft smile she gave, the calm reassurance in her words. Every time he thought of it, he felt a mix of gratitude and curiosity. Ethan tried to focus on work, but it was difficult. During meetings and calls, his mind kept wandering back to the park, to that small act of care. He wondered about Emma's life. Who was she? What had led her to be in that place at that time? He didn't know her at all, yet he felt a strange pull, a feeling that he couldn't ignore. More importantly, he realized that he wanted Lily to have someone like Emma in her life, not just as a hero in one moment, but as a constant presence, someone who could bring joy and kindness into her world. The next weekend, Ethan decided they would visit the same park again. Lily was thrilled when she heard the plan. She loved the playground, but she also loved spending time with her father. Ethan was determined to be fully present this time, putting his phone in his pocket and focusing entirely on his daughter. As they arrived, Ethan scanned the park, secretly hoping to see Emma again. And as luck would have it, she was there, sitting near the cafe stand on her day off, chatting with a few friends while keeping an eye on the children playing nearby. When Lily spotted Emma, her face lit up. "Daddy, it's her. The lady who helped me," she shouted, running toward Emma with her arms wide open. Emma's face brightened, and she stood to greet the little girl. Ethan followed, trying to act casual, though his heart raced. This was the first time he would speak to her directly outside of the emergency moment at the park. "Hi, Lily," Emma said warmly, kneeling to hug her. "I'm glad to see you again. Are you being careful today?" Lily giggled. "I am. But I missed you." Ethan approached slowly. "Hi," he said, his voice steady but soft. "I'm Ethan, Lily's father." Emma looked up at him, recognition flickering in her eyes. "Oh yes, I remember you. It's good to see you again." It was a spark of connection. A subtle acknowledgement that they were no longer strangers. Over the next hour, Ethan watched as Lily played with Emma, climbing on slides and swinging on the swings, while Ethan remained close by. He noticed how naturally Lily gravitated toward her, how Emma made the little girl laugh with simple games and funny faces. He was struck by the patience Emma showed, how she never scolded or rushed Lily, but guided her gently, cheering her accomplishments and comforting her when she stumbled. Ethan realized that this was the kind of presence he had missed for years, someone who could nurture, encourage, and connect with his daughter on a human level. As they walked to a nearby bench to have snacks, Ethan found himself talking to Emma. At first, it was small talk. The weather, the park, Lily's love for playgrounds. But soon, the conversation grew deeper. Emma shared bits about her life. She worked long shifts as a waitress at a small cafe, helping to support her mother who had been ill for some time. She spoke with honesty, revealing the struggles she faced without sounding bitter or complaining. Ethan listened intently, realizing that here was someone who had faced real challenges, who had worked hard for everything she had, yet remained kind and generous. Ethan shared little about his world, careful not to overwhelm her with talk of wealth and business. But he did open up about Lily, how much he loved her, and how difficult it had been for him to balance work and parenting. He told Emma that he wanted to be a better father, to be there for his daughter in ways he hadn't been able to before. Emma listened without judgment, nodding and offering small words of encouragement. "You love her," she said simply, "and that's what matters. You're here now, and you're trying. That's enough to start with." As the afternoon passed, Ethan realized something he hadn't expected. He enjoyed talking to her. Really talking as two people, not as a father and a stranger. Emma's presence was calming yet inspiring. She had a way of seeing the good in people and in situations, and Ethan felt drawn to that perspective. For the first time in years, he felt more than the usual rush of business and responsibility. He felt something gentle, human, and real. Lily, meanwhile, was ecstatic. She clung to both of them, laughing as Emma helped her climb onto the jungle gym and then letting Ethan cheer her on from below. For Ethan, this was a revelation. He had never realized how important it was not just to be physically present, but to witness, encourage, and share in the small joys of childhood. And now, with Emma there, it felt like the world was fuller, warmer, and more alive. After that day, Ethan started visiting the cafe where Emma worked. At first, it was under the pretense of buying coffee and pastries, but it became clear he was looking for more than just food. He wanted to see her, to talk to her, and to let Lily spend time with someone who had already become an important figure in her life. He noticed how tired she looked after long shifts, yet how she still managed to smile at every customer. He admired her strength and resilience, and he felt compelled to find ways to help without overstepping or making her feel uncomfortable. Emma, for her part, began to see another side of Ethan. He wasn't just the distant billionaire she might have imagined. He was a father, learning, stumbling, and trying his best. She noticed the moments when he genuinely engaged with Lily, how he laughed at her jokes, and how he comforted her when she fell or got frustrated. Slowly, Emma's respect for him grew, not for his wealth or power, but for the effort he was making to be a present, caring father. They started meeting more often, always in simple, casual ways at the park, at the cafe, or on short walks. Every interaction deepened their connection, and Ethan began to realize that this wasn't just about gratitude for helping his daughter. He wanted Emma in their lives as a friend, mentor, and perhaps something more. And Lily, sensing the bond, grew more confident and happy. She began asking Ethan when they could see Emma again, and she would talk about her adventures at the park with her new friend. Ethan also discovered the subtle but profound influence Emma had on Lily. She taught her small things: how to share toys with other children, how to speak politely to strangers, how to face little fears without panic. Lily absorbed these lessons with joy and curiosity, and Ethan saw the transformation. His daughter was becoming more confident, more joyful, and more resilient, and it was all happening because Emma had stepped into their lives at just the right moment. For Ethan, these moments were eye-opening. He realized that being a parent wasn't just about providing financial security or luxurious experiences. It was about nurturing, teaching, and sharing love in a real, tangible way. Emma had shown him what that looked like in practice, and he wanted to learn from her, to emulate her kindness, and to ensure Lily had the best possible childhood. By the end of the week, a subtle but undeniable bond had formed between Ethan, Lily, and Emma. It wasn't romantic yet, but it was significant. They had become a small, unconventional trio, brought together by an unexpected moment at the park. Ethan felt hope stirring inside him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. He was beginning to believe that perhaps, just perhaps, he could find a balance between his world of wealth and work and the warmth, love, and joy of being a father, and that Emma might play an important role in that journey. The weeks that followed saw small, meaningful routines. Ethan and Lily would visit the park at specific times, always hoping to see Emma. Sometimes she was there, sometimes not, but each encounter strengthened their bond. They would share small picnics, play games, and talk about their lives. Emma brought laughter and wisdom, teaching Ethan how to slow down and truly enjoy the fleeting moments of childhood. And as Ethan watched Lily run toward Emma each time, his heart filled with gratitude. Not just for the help she had given that day at the playground, but for the way she had entered their lives and made it richer, warmer, and brighter. He realized that sometimes people come into your life unexpectedly, in moments that seem ordinary, but end up changing everything. And Ethan was beginning to understand that Emma was one of those people, the kind of person who leaves a mark on your heart, your mind, and your family. This version emphasizes their growing connection, character development, and emotional depth, while keeping it simple, readable, and engaging. One afternoon, Ethan arrived at the park with Lily as usual, hoping to see Emma. Lily ran ahead, her little legs carrying her excitedly toward the swings, while Ethan walked slowly, enjoying the warmth of the sun on his face. But when they reached the usual spot near the cafe stand, Emma was nowhere to be seen. She wasn't at the playground, she wasn't at the cafe, and no one seemed to know where she had gone. Ethan felt a small worry stir inside him. Lily noticed it too and tugged on his hand. "Where's Miss Emma?" she asked, her voice soft, almost concerned. Ethan knelt to her level. "I don't know, sweetheart," he said. "Maybe she had something important to do." But even as he said it, he felt a pang in his chest. He realized that Emma had become more than just a friend to them. She had become part of their small family. Lily had grown to trust her, to look for her, and to enjoy her company. Ethan, too, had come to rely on her presence, on her kindness and guidance. And now, without knowing why, she was gone. The next day, Ethan decided to find out what had happened. He went to the cafe where Emma worked, hoping she was there. The owner, an older man named Mr. Patel, greeted him with a friendly nod. Ethan asked about Emma, careful not to sound too demanding or intrusive. Mr. Patel's face softened with concern. "Oh, she had to leave suddenly," he said. "Her mother's health worsened. She had to take care of her and couldn't come in for work. She's been trying to manage everything herself. It's tough for her." Ethan felt a deep sense of empathy. He had heard about people struggling before, but knowing Emma personally made it real. He remembered how she had been there for Lily, how her warmth and care had touched their lives. And now she was facing a crisis, one that money could help solve, but he had to be careful. He didn't want to embarrass her or make her feel indebted. Still, he couldn't ignore the situation. That evening, Ethan made a decision. Using his resources and connections, he arranged for Emma's mother to receive the best medical care possible. He ensured that the bills were paid anonymously so that Emma wouldn't feel uncomfortable or burdened. He wanted to help without overstepping, without making it about him. For him, it was simply a way to repay the kindness she had shown his daughter. Way to make sure someone who cared so deeply for others received care and support when she needed it most. A few days later, Lily and Ethan went back to the park. Emma wasn't there yet, but they left a small note at the cafe, hoping she would come by. That afternoon, Emma walked in, her face tired but with a hint of relief. Ethan watched from a distance as she scanned the cafe, her eyes stopping when they met his. There was a flicker of recognition, of curiosity, maybe a small spark of gratitude that Ethan couldn't read completely. Later, when they spoke, Emma was cautious. How did you do this?" she asked softly, almost afraid to believe it. Ethan smiled gently. "I just wanted to help," he said. "You were there for Lily when she needed comfort? I just wanted to do the same for your family. That's all." Emma's eyes filled with tears. She had been overwhelmed for months, trying to balance work and care for her sick mother while keeping her own life moving forward. Ethan's gesture was more than just financial help. It was a reminder that kindness exists in the world. Someone cared, and that she wasn't alone. She felt a mix of relief, gratitude, and a small spark of hope she hadn't felt in a long time. Ethan didn't want her to feel embarrassed or beholden, so he kept it simple. He didn't make a scene, didn't offer grand speeches. He just let his actions speak. Emma, for her part, was touched beyond words. She felt a deep respect for Ethan, not for his money or status, but for the thoughtfulness behind his actions, for the humility and care he showed in helping without making it about himself. From that day on, the dynamic between them subtly shifted. Emma began to trust Ethan more, seeing that he genuinely cared for Lily and for the people around him. She noticed that he wasn't the distant, cold billionaire she might have imagined. Instead, he was a man who was learning, growing, and trying to become a better father. She began to open up about her own hopes and fears, sharing stories about her mother, her dreams of becoming a nurse, the challenges she faced, working long hours while trying to support her family. Ethan listened, offering encouragement, advice when appropriate, and above all, a sense of understanding that she had rarely experienced from others. For Lily, seeing Emma return and knowing her mother was receiving care brought immense joy. She ran to Emma with open arms, laughing and chattering, sharing small stories about her day at the park. Ethan watched, feeling a warmth in his chest that he hadn't realized he missed so much. The small gestures of care, the laughter, and the presence of these two important women in his life reminded him what family really meant. It wasn't just blood or wealthy, it was love, trust, support, and the connections that made life meaningful. Over the next weeks, Ethan and Emma spent more time together, not just in the park, but in small, everyday ways. Sometimes they walked together while Lily played, talking quietly about life, dreams, and the future. Other times, they shared coffee at the cafe, laughing about small things and learning about each other's worlds. Ethan learned about Emma's resilience, her determination, and her ability to find joy even in difficult circumstances. Emma learned about Ethan's efforts to change, to become a more present father, and to open his heart beyond the walls of wealth and business. One evening, after a long day at the park, Emma confided in Ethan. "I don't know how I would have managed without your help," she said softly. "My mother. She's recovering now, and I can finally breathe a little. I don't know how to thank you." Ethan shook his head gently. "You don't need to thank me. You helped Lily when she needed someone. I just wanted to do the same for you." He smiled, a little awkwardly, but sincerely. There was a quiet honesty in his words that Emma couldn't ignore. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she had found someone she could trust. Someone who saw her as more than just a worker or a stranger. That night, as Ethan walked Lily home, he reflected on the events of the past few weeks. What had started as a simple act of kindness at the park had grown into something much bigger. It had built trust, formed connections, and started to change their lives. He realized that sometimes life presents moments that seem small at first, an accident, a hug, a gesture, but they can have ripple effects that change everything. And Emma had become one of those ripples in his life. For Lily, the change was simple and pure. She had someone she loved and trusted, someone who made her laugh and helped her feel safe. For Ethan, it was a revelation he could be a better father, could care for someone deeply, and he could learn from someone who showed compassion and strength in ways he hadn't experienced before. And for Emma, the gesture of care from Ethan gave her hope and relief, showing her that kindness can come from unexpected places and that she didn't have to face life's challenges alone. From that point on, the three of them became closer, their bond strengthened by trust, gratitude, and mutual care. The act of kindness, simple yet profound, had changed everything. It had shifted the balance of their lives, opening the door for love, friendship, and new possibilities. Ethan realized that his life of wealth and business meant little if he couldn't connect with people in meaningful ways. Emma realized that even in hardship, unexpected support could appear. And Lily realized that love and care could come from more than one source in her world. And so, the stage was set for the next chapter of their lives, a chapter where their connection would grow deeper, where trust and affection would continue to develop, and where the small act of kindness that started it all would lead to something extraordinary for all three of them. This version emphasizes Emma's struggle, Ethan's thoughtful support, the growing trust, an emotional connection while keeping it simple, readable, and engaging for the reader. Life slowly began to change for Ethan, Lily, and Emma. After the incident with Emma's mother, their bond grew stronger and more meaningful. It wasn't just about small moments in the park anymore. It had grown into something deeper, a connection built on trust, care, and shared experiences. Ethan noticed how much Lily had changed. She was happier, more confident, and full of laughter that echoed through their home and the park. She would often talk about her adventures with Emma, describing games they had played, jokes they had shared, and the little lessons Emma had taught her about kindness and bravery. Ethan watched. Lillian realized that for the first time in years, his role as a father wasn't just theoretical. He was present in her life in a way that mattered. But it wasn't just him who had changed. Emma had become a part of their world in a quiet, natural way. She wasn't intruding or taking over. She was simply there laughing with Lily, sharing small stories with Ethan, and offering guidance without judgment. Ethan felt gratitude and admiration growing for her each day. He saw the strength she carried, the patience she had, and the love she gave without asking for anything in return. One afternoon, they were at the park again. The sun was warm, and the playground was filled with the sounds of children running and playing. Lily ran ahead toward the swings, shouting happily, while Ethan and Emma followed slowly behind. Lily's joy was infectious, and even though Ethan had been stressed with work earlier that day, he felt himself relaxing. Emma laughed at something Lily said, a small giggle that reminded Ethan of how simple and beautiful life could be. In that moment, he realized how much he had missed out on in the past. All his wealth, all his business success had meant nothing compared to the warmth of these small, genuine moments. As they sat together on a bench to rest, Ethan glanced at Emma. She was smiling softly, her eyes following Lily as she climbed and swung, completely absorbed in her own world of play. Ethan felt a surge of emotion he hadn't expected, a mixture of admiration, gratitude, and something deeper he wasn't ready to name yet. He realized that Emma had become more than just a friend or a helper. She had become a part of their little family, someone whose presence brought stability, joy, and warmth. Lily, sensing the unspoken feelings between her father and Emma, climbed onto the bench and hugged both of them. "I wish we could always be together," she said softly. Ethan felt his heart tighten. He looked at Emma, whose eyes met his with understanding and kindness. There was a silent acknowledgement in that glance. They had been through something extraordinary together, and their bond had changed everything. Over the next few months, the routine became more comfortable and natural. Ethan made it a point to prioritize time with Lily and Emma. Work calls and business meetings were no longer excuses to miss important moments. He started inviting Emma to share small family activities, simple picnics, walks in the park, and even helping Lily with her little school projects. Lily thrived in this environment of love and attention, and Ethan felt a deep sense of satisfaction knowing he was finally fulfilling his role as a father. Emma, for her part, began to feel a sense of belonging she hadn't experienced in years. She had grown up in a world where responsibility and struggle often overshadowed joy and freedom. Working long hours, taking care of her sick mother, and managing her own life left little room for happiness. But being with Ethan and Lily gave her a chance to experience simple pleasures again: laughter, trust, and care. She found herself looking forward to their time together, sharing stories, offering guidance to Lily, and slowly learning to let someone else care for her as well. Ethan and Emma also began to talk more about their personal lives and dreams. He shared stories about his late wife, the struggles he faced as a single father, and his hopes for Lily's future. Emma shared her aspirations of studying nursing and helping people in need. They discovered shared values: kindness, family, integrity, and the desire to make a difference in the lives of others. These conversations brought them closer together, building trust and understanding that went beyond casual friendship. One evening, after a long day at the park, they sat together on a quiet bench while Lily played nearby. Ethan turned to Emma and said softly, "I don't know how to say this, but having you in our lives has changed everything. Lily is happier. I'm learning how to be a father, and I feel like there's hope again." Emma's eyes glistened with emotion. "I feel the same," she admitted. "You've given me something I didn't realize I was missing: trust, safety, and the feeling that I belong." The seasons began to change, but their bond remained constant. Winter arrived with its cold winds and short days, yet their small family found warmth in each other. They built snowmen in the park, shared hot cocoa at the cafe, and laughed as Lily ran through the snow, leaving tiny footprints behind. Ethan watched her, smiling, and realized that these ordinary moments were extraordinary. He had finally learned the true meaning of family, not defined by money, status, or perfection, but by love, presence, and shared experiences. Emma's mother gradually recovered, thanks to the medical care Ethan had arranged. Emma no longer carried the constant weight of fear and worry. She was able to focus more on the joys of life and the happiness of the small family she had become part of. She started helping Lily with schoolwork, teaching her about kindness and compassion, and gently guiding Ethan in ways he had never known he needed. Their lives intertwined naturally, each of them bringing strength, support, and love to the others. Lily, sensing the deep bond forming between her father and Emma, often whispered little observations. "I like when you and Miss Emma laugh together," she said one afternoon. "It makes me happy." Ethan felt a warmth in his heart at those words. He realized that the love he felt for Emma was growing, that he wanted her to be part of their family, not just as a friend, but as someone who could share life with them in every way. One evening, Ethan decided it was time to take a small step. After dinner, he asked Emma to walk with him in the park, just the two of them while Lily played nearby. The moon was soft and silver, reflecting on the playground where so many important moments had occurred. Ethan took a deep breath and spoke honestly. "Emma, I know we've all been through a lot, but I want you to know I care about you. Not just for Lily, but for me too. I want you in our lives, always." Emma looked at him, her eyes shining with tears and a small, happy smile. "I care about you too," she said. "I've never felt this way before. Being with you and Lily, it feels right, like I finally belong somewhere." From that moment, a new chapter in their lives began. It wasn't dramatic or rushed. It was gentle, natural, and full of love. Ethan learned to be a present father, fully embracing his role and cherishing every moment with Lily. Emma became a constant source of joy, support, and care, helping them navigate life's challenges with patience and understanding. And Lily thrived in the warmth and love of a family she had always longed for. Birthdays, holidays, and ordinary days became special because they were shared together. They laughed, celebrated small victories, and comforted each other in times of sadness. Each day strengthened their bond, showing them that love and family aren't defined by circumstances, wealth, or perfection. They are defined by care, trust, and presence. On Lily's next birthday, she held both Ethan and Emma's hands as she blew out her candles. She whispered a small wish. "I hope we can always be together." Ethan looked at Emma, their eyes meeting in silent understanding. That wish wasn't just a child's hope, it was a promise that they all felt in their hearts. They had found something extraordinary in each other, something that had grown from small acts of kindness, shared laughter, and the courage to open their hearts. And so, life went on, fuller and brighter than ever. Ethan had learned to balance his work with family. Emma had found a place where she belonged, and Lily had the love she had always deserved. Together, they had turned a simple accident at a playground into the beginning of a family built on trust, love, and shared joy. The world was no longer just a place of work, struggle, or uncertainty. It was a place where connection, compassion, and human kindness could transform lives in ways that money and power never could. And in that small, simple happiness, they all discovered the extraordinary power of love, how one hug, one act of kindness, and one moment of courage could change everything. Forever, this version wraps up the story with emotional resolution, character growth, and a heartfelt ending, keeping it simple, engaging, and relatable, while showing how all their lives were changed